This week on Eating with Evans, we're going to make healthy stuffed peppers. To do this, we're going to need 4 bell peppers. I like the yellow and red for this recipe. 20 ounces of lean ground turkey. 1 packet of taco seasoning mix. This one's from Trader Joe's, but you could make your own at home or buy a different one from the store. 1 large onion diced. 3 cloves of garlic minced. Some light shredded cheese that we're going to top these peppers with. To accompany these peppers, we're going to make some cilantro lime rice. To do this, we're going to need 1 cup of long grain white rice, 1/4 cup of minced cilantro, and the juice of 2 limes. While cooking the ground turkey, I'm going to use avocado oil. Avocado oil is very healthy for you, and it's got a high smoke point, so it's great to cook with. So to the bowl of my rice cooker, I'm going to add 1 cup of white rice. And just like any other starch, I'm going to add salt. So I'm going to add 2 pinches of salt to this. I'm going to stir this around and make sure that the rice and the salt are evenly combined. I'm going to go add this to my rice cooker and start cutting up my vegetables. To start this recipe, the first thing that I like to do is cut my bell peppers in half. And once I get all these cut in half, I'm going to lay them out on a sheet tray and throw them in a 350-degree oven that's been preheated. By pre-cooking the bell peppers in the oven before I add all my ingredients, I'm going to ensure that there's a nice soft texture when I bite into my pepper. If I were to just cut these raw peppers and load it with ingredients, you'd have a crunchy pepper that wouldn't be easy to cut. So I'm going to start by cutting my peppers in half. And I like to do it this way because it's easier to eat the pepper when it's cut in half this way. Sometimes people will cut straight down and fill this cavity, but I just find that that's hard to eat and most people end up cutting it in half anyway. So all I'm going to do is run my paring knife along this pepper, and I'm going to cut out the seeds here and just pull that whole thing out. I like to leave the stem still attached because I just think it looks cool. You could always cut this off if you wanted and still fill it with your filling. I want to do the same to the other half. Be sure to remove as many seeds and ribs as possible in the bell peppers. Bell peppers aren't spicy, but texturally it's better if the seeds and the ribs are removed. I'm going to continue halving the rest of my peppers and coring to remove the seeds and ribs. Now that my bell peppers are halved and de-seeded, I'm going to put these in a 350-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes, and that's going to give me enough time to cut up my onions and mince my garlic and start cooking my filling on the stove top. To start cutting my vegetables, I'm going to dice 1 large onion. When dicing my onion, I like to make slices along the equator and then perpendicular slices that are around equal sizes. That way I can have equal sized diced onion. Here's my 1 large onion diced. Now I'm going to use my garlic press to get 3 cloves of garlic minced. Technically we're crushing the garlic here, but it ends up coming out crushed into fine enough pieces that I consider it essentially minced for this recipe. If you don't have a garlic press, you can always just mince with a knife. So what I'm doing with the garlic press is, just to make sure I get every bit, I'm scraping it with the back of my knife. You don't want to scrape it with the front side of your knife because you'll end up dulling it. And just remove the skin after you use your garlic press. And here's my 3 cloves of garlic that's been either crushed in a garlic press or minced. The last thing that I need to do to prep for these stuffed peppers is get the juice of 2 limes. So I've got a citrus reamer here, and here are my 2 limes. And what I like to do is roll out my citrus with the palm of my hand against my cutting board. This starts to loosen up the inside of the lime, and what I find is that I get more juice that way. An easy way to get the juice out of a lime if you don't have a citrus reamer like this is to squeeze it directly into your rice. Now that I've got my 2 limes juiced, I'm ready to start cooking my filling on the stovetop. To this 12-inch skillet set over medium-high heat, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. Like I said before, avocado oil has a high smoke point and it's a neutral oil, so there's no real flavor to it. To the oil, I'm adding my 1 large onion that's been diced. I'm going to season the onion with salt. This is going to help to bring some moisture out of the onion to speed up the process of making these onions translucent. And we're going to cook these onions for 2 to 3 minutes on medium-high heat until they start to give up some of their moisture and become translucent. You can tell that the onions have started to give up some of their moisture and they've become translucent. They're starting to give up some of their color. So now we're going to add in our 3 cloves of garlic. We're going to let this garlic cook for 1 to 2 minutes, and all we're really looking to do is cook the raw bite of that garlic out. The garlic can be a little strong if you don't allow it time to cook out that raw flavor. After the garlic has had a couple minutes to cook out its raw flavor, we're going to add in our 20 ounces of ground turkey. I've cleared a spot here so that I have a landing pad for my turkey to go. I'm going to let this cook on this side for a couple minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to salt heavily on this side. There's a lot of meat here, so don't be shy about how much salt you're putting on. And using my rubber spatula, I'm going to start to break up this ground turkey. I'm going to let this turkey cook for between 2 and 3 minutes on this side so that it develops a nice seared flavor on one side. Also, now that I've added this turkey in, I'm going to turn the heat up to high. There's a lot of moisture in this turkey and we're going to cook it out. Now that we've allowed this turkey to cook on one side for between 2 and 3 minutes, I'm going to start flipping it over and turning. You can see I got a nice sear on one side. Because we're using turkey and not ground beef here, we have to cook this all the way through. Turkey, chicken, all poultry really has the chance of having salmonella, so we really want to cook this meat all the way through. The best way to cook this all the way through is breaking up the meat into as smaller chunks as possible. So where I've got a large chunk, I just want to break it down to tiny, tiny bits. This ground turkey is finished cooking, so now I'm going to sprinkle in my taco seasoning mix. A great way that I find to make sure that the seasoning is evenly dispersed throughout the meat is to add in around 1/4 cup of water. There's still plenty of heat in the pan, so I wouldn't worry about that water cooling the pan down too much. This will all simmer off. And what that water did was allow the seasoning to evenly distribute itself along the meat. This way you don't have some chunks of meat that are covered in seasoning and others that are bare. Now we're going to turn off the heat, let this cool down so that we can add it to our peppers. So we've removed our peppers out of the oven, and you can tell that they've had enough time par cooking, so they've softened up a lot. And if you take a fork, you can easily puncture the flesh. And this is telling me that these peppers have totally cooked to the point where they're going to be easy to cut when we go to eat. So now what we have to do is fill these peppers with the ground turkey. We finished filling our peppers with the turkey taco mixture, so now we're going to top it with a little bit of shredded cheddar and Monterey Jack cheese. If you have light cheese available to you, that may be a good calorie saving option. You can also have these without any cheese at all if you're trying to save on calories. These are going back into a 350-degree oven for 10 minutes so that the cheese can melt. While the cheese is melting on those peppers in the oven, we're going to finish our cilantro lime rice. So I've just removed my rice out of the rice cooker. It takes about 30 minutes for my rice cooker to make 1 cup of rice. So I like to add in my herbs first, and I add a splash of lime juice. I save some because I don't want to overpower the rice with the flavor of the lime. I'm going to taste for seasoning. I'm going to add a little bit more salt, and maybe a tablespoon or two of more of the lime juice. It's gonna really depend on how big your limes are. Some limes have more pungent flavor than others. So the 2 limes of juice is just a starting point. You could use less or more. I would be conservative at first. You can always add, you can't take it away. So just be conservative. Be sure to taste your rice to make sure that it's seasoned well before you plate it. And this is the final dish. These are healthy stuffed peppers made with ground turkey, served with a side of cilantro lime rice. I love topping these healthy stuffed peppers with some simple salsa or maybe some guacamole. This meal took 30 minutes from start to finish, and it was really dependent on my rice cooker, which takes 30 minutes to cook 1 cup of rice. Something that I also like to do with this meal is meal prep for the week. As you can see, I've evenly portioned the stuffed peppers and the rice into their own 4 separate containers. This allows me to heat these up throughout the week whenever convenient. This meal is great for a family who's trying to get a meal on the table quickly during a weeknight. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys love that recipe for my easy and healthy stuffed peppers made with ground turkey and served with cilantro lime rice as much as I do. If you did, be sure to hit the like button down below. If you guys want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications down below. This way you'll be notified as soon as I put out all of my new videos. If you guys try out any of my recipes, be sure to tag me here at Eating with Evans. This Instagram page is where I curate all of my meals that I make throughout the week, and you'll see content that you wouldn't necessarily see here on my YouTube channel. Until next time.